Of course, here's your 400-word introduction. The room fell silent. Not the kind of silence that feels peaceful, but the kind that pulls you in, grips your attention, and refuses to let go. Every seat was taken, yet no one moved. The air carried an electric charge, thick with anticipation, as if something extraordinary was about to unfold. At the center of it all stood a single empty podium, bathed in a soft glow under the stage lights. No one knew who was about to speak. No name had been announced. No introduction had been given. It was just the mystery speech. People exchanged glances, whispering theories. Was it a world leader? A visionary entrepreneur? A military general with untold stories of courage? The event had promised a lesson in leadership, in the power to inspire action, but no one had expected this level of secrecy. And yet, here they were, leaning forward, waiting for the unknown speaker to step forward. Then the sound of footsteps. Slow, measured, purposeful. From the shadows at the edge of the stage, a figure emerged, their face still obscured by the dim lighting. The energy in the room shifted. Eyes locked onto the stage, breaths held just a little longer. Whoever this was, they commanded attention without saying a single word. And then they finally spoke. The greatest leaders in history did not start with power. They did not begin with titles, wealth, or armies at their command. They started with something far more powerful: belief. A pause, a moment to let those words settle. Something about the voice was both familiar and unfamiliar, warm yet firm, like an echo from another time. The audience remained transfixed, caught between curiosity and conviction, wondering where this speech was leading. What if I told you that everything you think you know about leadership is wrong? The speaker continued, stepping closer to the microphone. That the key to inspiring action isn't authority, but something far more human. That real leadership, true leadership, is not about demanding loyalty, but earning it. Minds raced. Who was this person? What was the lesson hidden in their words? And most importantly, what would they say next? No one knew it yet, but by the time this speech ended, not a single person in that room would leave the same. A hush settled over the audience, but inside every mind, there was a storm. The speaker's words had landed like a spark in dry grass, igniting thoughts, questions, and something else. Something deeper, a stirring. Still, no one knew who this person was. The organizers had been strangely tight-lipped. No introductions, no biography in the program, no clues. Just a nameplate on the podium that was deliberately left blank. Even the event's host had stepped aside without a word, as if they too had no idea what was about to happen. The speaker let the silence linger, as if daring the audience to sit with their own uncertainty. Then they took a slow breath and continued. Leadership is not a position. It is not a rank, a title, or a role you are given. It is something you earn. And more than that, it is something you give. The voice was calm, deliberate. Each word seemed to settle into the minds of those listening, forcing them to reflect. A few leaned forward in their seats, caught in the gravity of what was unfolding before them. Others stole glances at the people beside them, silently asking, "Asterisk, do you recognize the masterisk?" But no one did. The speaker moved across the stage with quiet confidence, eyes scanning the room. It was as if they were searching for someone, not a particular person, but someone who was truly listening. Then they stopped and placed a hand on the podium. We often believe that leadership is about control, that to inspire action, we must demand it. But history tells us a different story. The greatest movements, the most powerful transformations, they did not begin with orders. They began with a reason, a belief, a cause so strong that people chose to follow, not because they had to, but because they wanted to. Something about the way they spoke made it feel personal, as if they weren't just delivering a speech, but revealing something deeply lived. Someone in the back of the room shifted in their seat. Another cleared their throat. It was becoming impossible to ignore the weight of the moment. Then the speaker did something unexpected. They stepped away from the podium and walked down into the audience. People stiffened, unsure of what was happening. The tension thickened. And then, looking directly at someone in the front row, the speaker asked a question that no one saw coming. A question that would change everything. The speaker's eyes locked onto the man in the front row. A split second of silence stretched longer than it should have. The man, caught off guard, shifted in his seat, but the speaker didn't look away. Then, in a voice that carried through the entire room, the speaker asked, "Why do you follow?" A ripple of unease passed through the audience. It wasn't the kind of question people expected in a speech like this. It wasn't about leadership strategies, business tactics, or the usual cliches. It was something deeper, something personal. The man hesitated. He glanced around as if hoping someone else would answer for him. But the speaker waited. No escape. Finally, he cleared his throat. "Because I trust the vision," he said carefully, though his own words seemed to surprise him. The speaker nodded, taking a step closer. "And what happens when that trust is broken?" The man blinked. His lips parted slightly, but no words came. A murmur spread through the crowd. Others were now asking themselves the same question. How many of them had followed someone, a leader, a boss, a mentor, only to be disappointed? Betrayed, even. How many had once believed in something, only to see it crumble? The speaker let the tension build before speaking again. This is the part no one talks about. The risk of leadership. The cost of trust. The moment when belief is tested. Because leadership is not just about inspiring people. It is about what happens when things go wrong. When people doubt you. When the path forward is unclear. True leadership is revealed not in the easy moments, but in the moments when you have to earn back trust that has been lost. A woman in the middle row sat back, arms crossed. Something about the way she furrowed her brows suggested she had been in that exact position before, believing in a leader, only to watch them fail. Others shifted in their seats, staring at the speaker with a mix of curiosity and discomfort. The speaker took a slow breath, walking back toward the stage. There is a moment in every leader's journey when they stand at a crossroads. The easy path is to command, to force obedience, to lead through fear. The harder path, the real path, is to inspire. But that requires something most people are too afraid to give. The room waited. And then the speaker said something that changed the way everyone saw leadership forever. The speaker paused, scanning the faces in the crowd. The weight of their words hung in the air, unshaken, pressing down on every person in the room. No one dared to move, as if the next sentence might hold the key to something they didn't even realize they had been searching for. Then the speaker took a step forward, lowering their voice just enough to draw everyone in closer. Most people think leadership is about being the strongest person in the room, the loudest voice, the one with all the answers. A pause. But that's a lie. A flicker of something passed through the crowd. A few exchanged glances, some nodding in agreement, others wrestling with the thought. The greatest leaders in history weren't the ones who demanded power. They were the ones who gave something first. And not just their words, not just a vision. The speaker's gaze settled back on the man in the front row. They gave something far more valuable. Do you know what that is? The man hesitated, swallowed hard, then shook his head. Vulnerability. A single word, yet it landed like a hammer striking stone. The woman in the middle row, the one who had folded her arms earlier, let out a slow breath. Something shifted in her eyes, as if the pieces of a puzzle had suddenly clicked together. Leadership is not about appearing invincible, the speaker continued. It's about showing others that you are human, that you don't have all the answers, that you too feel fear, doubt, uncertainty. Because when people see that, something powerful happens. The silence grew heavier. A slow realization was setting in, not just in their minds, but in their bones. When leaders pretend to be untouchable, people obey out of fear. But when a leader stands before them and says, "I don't have all the answers, but I believe in something greater than myself," people follow out of choice. And that is the only kind of leadership that lasts. The speaker's voice didn't rise, didn't grow louder. But somehow the intensity deepened. Think of every movement that changed the world, every revolution, every act of courage that shifted the course of history. It didn't start with orders. It started with someone willing to stand up and say, "I don't know where this road leads, but I will walk it first." Something in the room cracked open. The tension had reached its peak. People weren't just listening anymore. They were feeling it. And then, just when it seemed like the answer was within reach, the speaker did something that no one expected. The speaker's next words landed like a thunderclap. Leadership requires sacrifice. The energy in the room shifted. It wasn't a new idea, but the way the speaker said it, so certain, so final, made it feel like an undeniable truth. People had come expecting lessons, maybe inspiration, but this was different. This felt heavier, more real. Then, without warning, the speaker did something that no one expected. They pulled a chair from the front row, turned it around, and sat down. The move shattered the invisible barrier between stage and audience. The air grew thick with tension. This wasn't just a speech anymore. It was something else, something raw. The speaker leaned forward. "Let me tell you a story," they said, "about a leader who had everything: the trust of his people, the power to make change, the vision to see beyond what others could. And then, in a single moment, he lost it all." The silence that followed was almost unbearable. The speaker looked around the room, eyes searching, as if measuring the weight of their own words. Then they continued, voice lower now, almost confessional. It wasn't because he was weak. It wasn't because he was unprepared. It was because he made a choice. A choice that seemed right at the time. A choice that should have secured his legacy. But instead, it destroyed everything. People sat frozen, waiting for more. Who was this leader? What had they done? But the speaker wasn't rushing. They let the tension stretch, pulling everyone deeper into the story. And then came the twist. The leader is in this room right now. A ripple of shock moved through the crowd. People stiffened. A few turned their heads, scanning faces. Who was it? A politician.